Hello, hello, hello. You are here watching, listening to another Beyond the Game. I'm here with RossChakrian. Want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Ross?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Justin. Appreciate it. This new project of yours, I'm a big fan. I think it's awesome. Going beyond the game, very appropriate title there. I've been teaching K through 5 PE for the last 8 years in Central Maryland. Love my job. Come from a long line of physical educators. Both my parents were PE teachers back in New York City. My sister's also a PE teacher here in the Maryland area as well. So it's kind of in our blood, and I love what I do every day. Best job in the world, man.
Nice, nice. And you're very active on social media and in your Maryland State AFERD,
That's
right?
it. Yeah, I'm a Maryland AFRID board member, member at large. Yeah, Twitter, awesome, great stuff.
Yeah, that's why I'm rocking out the New Jersey AFERD shirt today.
Right.
Do a little rep. So we are here today. Let me get the picture up, and you're going to walk us through what
Mhm.
this is. I got to tell you, I look at a lot of videos online that
Mhm.
people post. This one was wild. I got to admit, I had no idea what in the world was going on. So please tell me a little bit about this. We'll play it a couple times. Tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so basically, this is an activity that I had done many years ago, and I hadn't revisited it in a while. I call it cooperative builders, and this is kind of the final level, kind of final challenge of it, where the students are tasked with creating some kind of a structure using a certain amount of pieces of equipment, and then their job is to build a structure that's as sturdy as possible. I kind of tell them that ahead of time. If they don't know I'm going to bust out this leaf blower, I kind of have it hidden off to the side. They can't really see where it is. And then I try to see if what they have built withstands the mighty wind, I call it, from about 5 feet away from this leaf blower. So that's kind of the culminating level challenge of this activity. But there's some that come before it too that we'll probably get into as we talk.
Nice. So right away, definitely very interesting. And what I really like about it is, I guess we could ask the question now, what standard are we going deeper? What are we learning here?
Yeah, so I did this with third through fifth grade. Third grade standard was S4E4 3A, working cooperatively with others. Fourth grade, reflecting on personal social behavior and physical activity, which is S4E2.4. And the fifth grade one that I wanted to hit on with this activity was engages in physical activity with responsible interpersonal behavior, which is S4E1.5.
All right. So totally skipping standard one,
Mm-hmm.
which is very interesting, right? We always think about phys ed. We got to do standard one. We're throwing, we're catching, we're moving, we're hitting, we're striking, we're doing all those things.
Yep.
Totally going off. What made you go for this team building approach?
Standard 4 and 5 is something that I felt in my teaching had been lacking up until this year. Like you said, when we think of PE and when I think of how I used to do things in my classes, I was very standard one heavy. That's pretty much all I assessed my kids on. That's pretty much all I, focused on throughout my lessons. And this year, through a lot of reflection over the summer and conversing with a lot of people in person and on Twitter, I really wanted to make standard 4 and 5 a bigger part of my kids' lessons throughout the year, and really in everything that we do. So this is kind of a perfect way to get started with that, because cooperative activities lend themselves very well to standards 4 and 5. So if you're someone, that's really trying to first, get that into your program and first kind of make that connection to standards 4 and 5, like you haven't had in your teaching in the past, I would suggest using cooperative activities to do that as kind of the means to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And my teaching, I start off with the cooperative unit. I feel like that starts the year on a really positive note, lets everyone get to know each other. And they think they know each other, and then you start the cooperative activities, and then you really get to know each other under
Absolutely.
stress sometimes. So now let's go beyond the game here. So we see the culmination. Tell me what was leading up to it. Where in the unit did this fall, and what they have to do to get to there?
Yeah. So can I share my screen? Is that cool?
Yeah, absolutely. Share it away, sir.
So that tweet that you showed earlier, I kind of made a follow-up tweet to that a little bit later on that evening to kind of tell people, hey, here's the levels leading up to that challenge level number 5. So I'm going to try to share my screen here, if it'll work. I want to share it.
Yep, you just hit share, and then you'll hit that top left one. Yep. All right, I can see your screen. Yep.
Cool. So this is that follow-up tweet that I sent out.
I love how you put the grade level outcomes on there. Fantastic.
So we started with this quote here that I found online that I thought was very appropriate by Vince Lombardi: individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work. So I had the kids kind of talk about that amongst themselves for about a minute or so, try to see what kind of meaning they took from this. And we kind of shared out after that and had a little discussion about what we thought this quote meant. And we kind of all kind of really, what the kids shared was kind of all in the same direction of, you have to give your best self to your group if you want to be successful with whatever it is you're doing. And you have to be on 100% giving your best effort to whatever that group goal is if you want to be really what a team's all about. So we kind of hit on that, and that kind of lent itself really well to the activity a little bit later on. So this was challenge number 1 that I did with them. So they all started at this level. I had them in groups of about 4 or 5. I let them pick their own groups for this day. So challenge 1 was to build a freestanding structure using all of their group's objects, and all the pieces must have been connected to one another somehow. So that was just their, pretty basic, challenges, just a couple of what they came up with. So they had lots of different objects here: cones, PVC pipe, noodles, jump ropes, stack buckets, a plunger, a bowling pin, a ball, a tub. So there's lots of different random objects there, put together in lots of different ways they came up with. Different example there. So once the group thought they had met the criteria of challenge number 1, they would call me over. I would check it. Did it meet all the criteria? Yes. Then I gave them a little task card that you see here to move on to the next challenge. So challenge 2, build a freestanding structure that is taller than your tallest group member, using whichever and however many objects necessary. So they had to start from scratch. I told them to take down their first structure. And this is the 3rd grade crew right here that came up with something. So obviously that's taller than their tallest person, which was pretty impressive. That got up there it was 10 feet high when I measured it with my yardstick.
Yeah, that's quite the tall freestanding structure right there. Fantastic.
Taller. I think I went up to 12 feet. That was 5th grade boys right there. So again, same thing. They thought they had met all the criteria for that challenge. They call me over. If they did, boom, they move on. So it's kind of self-paced in and of itself, because all groups aren't moving at the same rate on to the next challenge. So, and I tell them in the beginning, it's not a race. It's not you against another group. It's you trying to work together with the people that you're with as best you can.
Yeah, that's always difficulty. Looking around, thinking that who's going to do it first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the end. It's about the journey.
Yeah, talking about how it's about the process and how about back to that quote that we talked about at the beginning. I kept referring back to that a lot. I left that up on my projector during the whole lesson here.
It's a great provocation.
Yeah, man. It really got them thinking a little bit. Cool. So this is challenge 3, build a freestanding structure that can support the weight of your group's little beanbag animal. The animal must be placed in the topmost piece of your structure, and you have to use at least 10 pieces in your creation.
I'm hoping this is a Beanie Baby or something like that.
Beanie. It's not a Beanie Baby. I don't have Beanie Babies. It's like a little frog beanbag animal.
So no animals were harmed in the making of this. Put that disclaimer out there.
There you go. So this is a 3rd grader group
right there.
Right, yeah. And then creation of another 3rd grade group right here with their animal on top there. So
I like that. And then you could also talk about, how did that differ from the previous challenge with the height? Because obviously with the different goals, it can be really hard to put an animal on top of a 12-foot pool noodle up there. So I like that.
Yeah, it was interesting to see their process and their strategies as they were making the different structures that would meet the different criteria of these challenges as they went on. And this is challenge number 4, to build a freestanding structure where one of your team members is the base. So they have to be the base on the bottom. Things have to be built on top of that person somehow. You know, these at least 8 pieces on top of that person in your creation. So this one had some really funny, creative ideas.
Oh, I can imagine.
So there's one group. It was pretty funny.
That's a bucket head right there.
There we go. And then another group of 5th grade girls here. Yeah, so I mean, their creativity knew no bounds with this, and that's what I loved about it the most. Seeing them work together, how much they were laughing, how much they were enjoying themselves, how much they just really got to be creative. It was awesome to see. And then a lot of my groups ended up getting to level 5 here. Well, level 4, I should say. I had them repeat that with each person in their group if they met the criteria as whatever the group was. And I told them they had to obviously make a different structure every time with that. And there were a couple of groups that got to this level 5 with the leaf blower. So I just prompted them to build the sturdiest freestanding structure that they can, using at least 8 objects. And then I prompted them with, your creation's going to need to withstand the mighty wind. Didn't tell them what the mighty wind was. They didn't know.
What a great hook.
You know, yeah. So they were that kind of got them right there. Like, oh man, I wonder what that means.
Yeah, what's this wind?
Yeah. So that was it was interesting, and most of them had pretty good ideas for this. And that's the tweet that you saw there. So
very cool.
The story of it.
Very, very nice. That was probably the most thorough lead up I've ever saw, to be honest, to a final video. So that's great. I think the people watching are going to be able to steal a lot of that. So there was a boatload going on, and this is why I really wanted the idea of this beyond the game, because I see you blowing a leaf blower to some objects where there's no kids around.
Yeah,
I have no idea what's going on. Now, I've interacted with you before. I know that you are very intent on creating a quality phys ed program, but I never would have known all those levels that went up to it unless we have this type of platform here, or if you put these out constantly and had the people there. So that was really, really cool. I mean, you answered a lot of the questions in there. So let's go to the next one. Where is the equity? Where did this work on their skill levels? If there was someone with a handicap, how would they be involved?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any stories to tell us about the ability levels of the children?
I'm at a school that has a very high special needs population. And in one of my classes that I did this with, 4th grade class, I have 2 autistic students, 1 boy and 1 girl. And I think the boy was absent that day, so there was just the girl there. But basically, I mean, the culture that you create of your class is really something that's going to kind of either flourish here with these kind of activities, or really kind of, just, deflate the whole thing. So that culture that I think that class has really created in of itself, how well the peer helpers work with one another, and those students that are special needs, they're so inclusive with them. I told them to make their own groups. There was a bunch of other girls that went over to the one special needs girl. Hey, you're in our group. Come on over. You're helping us out. You're helping us to build. So I mean, that culture that you create ahead of time, it's really either, like I said, going to blossom in this situation, or it's really you're really going to see it deflate the situation. And then that's just a reflection moment kind of on you. What could you do differently one way or the other there? So
you talk about the grade level outcome of accepting students of various skill levels.
Yeah.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's talk about different ways we could do the activity. Mm-hmm. What are some extensions you think you could do, or something that would increase the engagement or the activity?
Yeah. So I mean, this is just it was a 1-day lesson with this activity. In the future, I might have, the kids that maybe get past that final level. Hey, you got to come up with your own kind of challenge now. What are you going to do for level
That's
6?
what I was thinking.
You know?
Exact same thing. My final levels of everything
Yeah.
are back to the student. So
Yeah.
what can we do to change this? What can we do to make this better? What do you want to do? Where do you see this going? So I think that's fantastic. All right. Hard question here.
Yep.
The assessment.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do for assessment? How are these students assessed?
So the assessment, I used their Plagnets I use Plagnets with 4th and 5th graders.
All right, and those are Plicker magnets for those not there. Do you have any picture or anything, or do you want to talk to it?
I'll try to share my screen again, because I think it's at the end of that.
All right. So Plagnets are created by Mr. Ginicola. Took a really cool concept of Plickers, added a magnet, and for us, works really, really well. I use them in my class, which is really it takes assessment and gives you some feedback very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of formative assessment with it, not summative. But that's fine. I need the data going along as well.
Yeah. So we talked about that quote in the beginning, individual commitment to a group effort. That's what makes a team work. So their Plickers prompt was this right here, or their Plagnet prompt for 4th and 5th graders. 3rd graders use their Plicker cards. How much effort did you give towards helping your group today during cooperative builders? So A, I gave no effort at all. B, I gave poor effort, and I could have given a lot more. C, I gave some effort, but I could have given some more. D, I gave my best effort. And then
I love that, because A, that's student-centered. That's not me as the teacher going, well, you look like you were working hard. You didn't look like you were working hard. You put the onus on the students. And I have to tell you, when I do that with my kids, I'd say 95% or higher, they would give themselves the same grade that I would.
Yep.
So that's a really cool idea. And people are always looking to do, what do you call it, the 5th standard assessment. Yep. How do we assess that standard 5? It is difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because I told them, they know to answer honestly with all this kind of stuff. I was like, I'm not grading what you put on your plugin here. I'm not grading whether you answer A, B, C, or D, but I kind of want to see what your thoughts are and if they match up with what I saw during this activity. And then I think I took a picture of this one class, and they all answered D, and I agree. I told them I all agreed with what they said there. So they all answered that they gave their best effort. That they were so creative. They were so supportive of each other. They were so engaged in the activity. They really enjoyed this, and their character traits really flourished here. And that's that piece that I really want to hit on a lot. Like I said in the beginning, that standard 4 and 5 stuff, the cooperation piece, that character ed piece fits so well in there. And I think that's really where we can spend, where we should be spending a lot more of our time compared to standard 1, to be honest. So that was the assessment piece that I used there.
Yeah, I agree a lot there. And what's funny is when we talk about the constructivist theory, learning by doing, we forget it's really learning by doing and reflecting. Mm-hmm. That's that key piece, is the reflecting. If we don't give them time to debrief, to think about it, to talk as a group, to go over what went well, what didn't go well, then we miss that piece.
Agreed.
So, I definitely think really good stuff. And when we talk about Mr. Wiles, always likes his depth of knowledge. Mm-hmm. I mean, you want to talk about strategic thinking, you want to talk about extended thinking, that's all right there. So I don't have anything more before we finish up. Anything you need to add, and also tell us where we can get in contact with you to follow and learn more about your fantastic resources.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk on this awesome new project of yours. Twitter handles at Mr_C_PE. Reach out, connect. I'm more than happy to help. All those resources that you just saw in that video there, there's a link in that tweet. So if you go back through my recent tweets, you'll see it, where you can get those challenge level cards for free. It's on there. I think it's in my section of the Global Phys Ed Drive. So, yeah, that's where you can get it.
Nice. Well, listen, really, really well done, sir. Appreciate how you keep pushing the profession forward. And I agree with you. The standard 5 is where my push is. Yes, we want our MVPA to get up, but I will take that loss on the MVPA if it means creating a culture where the students are working together. It's inclusive. Do I want them standing around every day without getting their heart rate up? No, but will I take that loss every once in a while in order for the gains of that affective domain every day of the week and twice on Sunday? So
Agreed, 100%, brother.
All right, sir. Thank you for your time. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.